How old were you in 1985?
I was 9.
You were 9. So you were probably you remember Reagan, clearly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Back to the Future, one of my all-time favorite movies, came out in November 5th, 1955, 1985.
Yeah.
Right. That was the year that it took place.
Okay.
So I remember that distinctly.
And do you have real memories of the Cold War?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
I mean, of course, Rocky IV, the movie that ended the Cold War.
Outside of movies, I mean,
well, that's how you
I
set those timelines in your life, right?
So there was a guy that I don't know if you would have remembered. He was a comedian, and he came from around the Iron Curtain, and he and his family got out of the former Soviet Union. He became a huge hit at the time because we really didn't see former Soviet citizens, and especially ones that could tell jokes. And his name was Yakov Smirnoff.
Oh, yeah.
You remember him?
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
I just saw something from him the other day about Thanksgiving. And I haven't seen this. I don't know if I even saw it in 1985, but it's worth listening to. Here he is, Yakov Smirnoff, just fresh from the Soviet Union, talking about Thanksgiving. Listen to this.
It's Thanksgiving, and I'll tell you, it's my favorite holiday. I like parades without missiles. When I first was explaining about Thanksgiving in America, I said, wait a minute, it doesn't make sense. I mean, for every freedom and all the opportunities that you got here, the only thing you got to say is thanks. It just didn't seem like it was enough. My parents and I had our first Thanksgiving dinner in a little apartment in New York. And we joined hands, and my father said a prayer to good food and our health. And then something happened. Instead of releasing our hands, we couldn't let go. We kept holding on to each other tighter and tighter, and we realized we were together and we were free, really free. And here we were, 3 grown people, looking for a way we could possibly show our appreciation, and we couldn't. Now I know what it is. It's thanks. Good night.
If you're watching it, you can see that he tears up at the end. There's no words to express thanks, and we've lost that, the deep, deep gratitude for our lives. I have felt it over the last year, unlike I've ever felt gratitude for my freedom, my safety, my family's safety, being born here, and now, especially after the election, God, miracles can happen in your life all the time. Just, quote, chance encounters. Is it a chance encounter, or is that an answer to a prayer? Is that divine providence? Miracles come when there's really no other explanation. When something that you all have agreed that just can't happen, happens. Donald Trump getting shot at so close that the camera picks the bullet up, speeding toward his head, and just before it goes into his head, he moves his head in a way he never does before, and it clips his ear instead of going right into the temple. That doesn't happen. That doesn't happen. To have a politician or a guy who is constantly beat on, constantly smeared, had more investigations done on him than and I believe this to be true. I'd love to see an actual study on this. Somebody who had more investigations, more spies on him, more, going through the trash and everything else, more than anyone else in human history by far, because every spy agency in the world did that. And then they went back and said, there's got to be something else. For him to just continue to stand, and then when somebody tries to kill him, his first response is, stand up. And then for him not to be angry, but instead to be humbled What are the odds there? For him to continue to go on and, in fact, continue to stand. Do you know his plane was targeted? His plane was targeted. We know that there are surface-to-air missiles. We know that he was going to be targeted by foreign entities that are here. For him to get on his plane every time, the man knew he was risking his life. For him to run the campaign that he ran in the last 8 months, you remember what it was like? It was all, they're after me and all of this stuff because they were after him. But did you notice after the assassination attempt when he could have said, instead, he had a much more uniting message and a happier message and a positive message. And then for all of these people to come out of the woodwork and start to say, you know what? This is evil. I heard more talk from people who are not Christians. More talk from people going, there is something seriously wrong, and I think it's evil what's going on. America woke up. I've been doing this for 50 years on the radio, almost 50 years. I've been doing this, warning people for 24 years. I didn't think you'd wake up. Stu brought it up. Our theme is, stand up. We wrote that theme 4 years ago because if you don't stand up, we're done. And we put that on, and I tried to make that an encouraging thing to convince people, you got to stand up. Right now, we're going to lose everything. You got to stand up. It's okay to stand up. It's the only way. You stood up. After 24 years of the same message coming from me in different ways, where I had lost hope. I mean, I said to you all last year, we got to find God. We got to be people where God thinks, you know what? They're worth saving. I said to you over and over again, I can come up with a million ways this is going to go wrong, but there's only one path for it to succeed, and that is God. And he showed up. He showed up. He's not done with us. He should be. Honestly, he should be. With everything that we do, for as big as a miracle that is, I think a lot of people, I heard it right after the election. Wow, that was a miracle. And people meant it as a literal miracle. That was a miracle. Yeah, it was. Next week, will we even remember it by next Thursday? Or will we make the holiday that was built to humble ourselves and to thank God for our blessings? Will we even remember the massive miracle? Stu, would you agree one of the biggest miracles you've seen in your life for America? Mm-hmm. That was a miracle that happened in the way that it did. All of a sudden, the messaging was right. All of the right things fell into place. For the first time ever, the GOP was serious on their ground game. All of these things that happened.
I thought you were just referring to him turning his head.
Yeah, and that, all of that.
Yeah.
From that moment on, all of that was a miracle. Let's not forget that next week. He's not done with us. I heard somebody say to me on election day, I feel really good. I'm cautious, but I feel really good. And here's why. Why would he, recognizing the miracle of the assassination attempt, why would he save Donald Trump only to not save it now? I couldn't think of a reason other than I don't understand the mind of God. Think of this miracle. If Donald Trump would have won in 2020, it would have been more of the first term. We wouldn't get what we're about to get now. We wouldn't get the reduction of the government. We wouldn't get possibly the closing down of some agencies, of cutting these agencies in half. We wouldn't have gotten those things. We wouldn't have had Elon Musk. We wouldn't have had Vivek Ramaswamy. We wouldn't have known. Remember, they didn't start cutting our children until the Biden administration. None of us had any idea about all this transgender stuff because that and DEI, if you brought it up, it wasn't being done at least as openly, but it was all set to go. It wasn't being done until Biden got in. And then when we said, what the hell is all this? They said it was a conspiracy theory. And it took us 3 years to go, no, it's not. It's not a conspiracy theory, and it's deadly. It took us 3 years before the doctors even started to turn. It took COVID to wake people up. There is no bad. My father used to say this to me, Glenn, there is no bad. It's what do you do with the bad things that happen to you? You can either wallow in and say, oh, that was bad, or you could recognize that sucked. But what did I learn from it? What did I take? How can I take that and turn that into a blessing? COVID was a blessing in the end because it woke people up. Tomorrow I have some surgery. Then I go on vacation. It's not a big surgery. It's just I have facial surgery again because I guess I'm out of room on my face for more cancer, so they got to take some cancer off my face so it can grow new cancer. I don't know what. This never ends. But this is my last chance to talk to you before Thanksgiving. And this is my last chance before Thanksgiving to sincerely thank the Lord for showing up, for sincerely blessing our country, for showing me a miracle. 2, one that I saw in North Carolina where people were standing because God told them, come from across the country. I know you don't know anybody. I know you don't think you're going to be able to make a difference, but just go. And they got in their cars and they drove across the country, and those people were put to work in ways that I couldn't have served. Maybe you couldn't have served, but they actually did it. And God worked a miracle. And then he worked this. Please, even if it is just holding the hands around the table, just for an extra minute, there is nothing that we can say to him more meaningful than just, thank you. Thank you, Lord, for an incredible experience. Thank you for letting us live at this time to be in your service. Thank you for waking us up. Thank you for giving us the reason to stand. Happy Thanksgiving.